Hi everyone, this is Ryan Selby with Sternbild Medical, and what I'm going to talk about today is the impact interfaces have versus pressure versus flow. I get this question a lot out there in the field. Do interfaces play that big of an impact on pressure or flow when you're trying to provide CPAP? The simple answer is yes. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate that to you today. And then I will also talk about what impact water has on a bubble CPAP system with the expiratory limb. Bubble CPAP, I do a lot of training on bubble CPAP. It's a fantastic therapy. Hospitals all over the state of California are using bubble CPAP, but there are some things to be mindful of, which will allow me to talk about this monitor here, and we'll get to that in a minute. But let's get started and orient everybody to what we're working with here. Today I have a baby simulator. This baby simulator simulates a 750 gram baby. I have on that simulator the Fisher & Paykel FlexiTrunk system with the mask. I have a pacifier in there to simulate, to stop mouth leaking. And on the simulator, you're going to see an XY graph screen that's going to appear that's going to let you know what the centimeter water pressure that the baby will be getting in the lungs. Here, I have a monitor. This monitor is made by DRW Medical. It's a fantastic monitor that's designed to work with the bubble CPAP system. And what it does is it allows you to determine what pressure is building up within the line. And if your pressure drops below a minimum level that you set or goes above a maximum level you set, it'll alarm. So it's a safety alarm for you for when you use bubble CPAP. I have an airflow here. We're going to set the flow to 8 liters of flow when I turn this on, and then I have the Fisher & Paykel bubbler. So what I want is when I set this bubbler, I've set this bubbler to 5 centimeters of water pressure. When I turn everything on, I want my 5 centimeters of water pressure here to match 5 centimeters of water pressure here to match 5 centimeters of water pressure here. So again, this is the CPAP pressure I had set. This is the CPAP pressure that are inside the lungs of the baby, and this is the CPAP pressure within the line. So you want all three to equal. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my simulator. I've turned on my monitor, and now I'm going to turn on the flow to 8 liters of flow. And already we have a seal, and we have about 8 liters of flow, 7 to 8 liters of flow, and success. I have 5 centimeters of water pressure on my bubbler. As you can see on the simulator, there is this lines going up and down. Basically, the mean of the CPAP that I'm giving to the baby is 5 centimeters of water pressure, but as we know with bubble CPAP, there's a vibratory effect that happens because of the bubbles. And so the centimeter water pressure is going in between 6 and 4, but basically the mean of that is 5. And the pressure internally within the system itself is 5. So 5, 5, 5. I'm very happy with that, and the baby is getting the CPAP that I want. What happens when I change from a nasal CPAP system, which has large bore tubing, full occlusion and airs, and go to a cannula system, which has narrow tubing and a partial occlusion? I chose this size because it's based on the recommendation from the manufacturer to go at 80% occlusion whenever you go onto CPAP. So let's go ahead and remove this. First thing I'd like you to notice as soon as I take this off is the bubbles stop. My reading here drops down to 0, and my monitor also says 0. So the baby is no longer getting CPAP, and all of my devices are telling me that. So we go ahead and we take off our interface. We're going to go ahead and put on our RAM cannula interface, and immediately what I'd like you to notice is that it's starting to bubble. So there is some resistance within that tubing that is causing it to bubble. And when I plug in the pressure line into my bubble CPAP system, I have a CPAP reading of 5.3. So it's bubbling, the CPAP is reading 5.3, but I don't have the cannula hooked up to the baby. So when I hook it up to the baby, my CPAP, and I'm getting it, I am giving the baby CPAP. And the CPAP, two things to notice on this. The CPAP has dropped from 5 centimeters of water pressure down to about 3.5. So I am certainly getting CPAP at 80% occlusion, but the vibrations have also been cut down from what we had was a 4 to 6 range, and now the range is just changed from 3 to 4. So the vibrations have also been reduced dramatically when you change the interface. So bottom line is even though we have we're getting a CPAP pressure, it's not what was prescribed. The prescribed is 5 centimeters, and all those vibrations have been completely eliminated when you put on a cannula into a CPAP system. So that is the why, or what happens when we change the interface. What happens when water builds up into a bubble CPAP line? And we get this a lot. Go ahead and turn off this alarm. We get this a lot when the bubbler is raised high on the bed. So I'm going to on the baby where the expiratory limb, or this basically expiratory limb, gets a U-bend in it and can start collecting moisture. So I get questions on, does that moisture have an impact on the baby's pressure? So let's go ahead and put this system back on. Click that in there. Silence that again. Put that in there. And see that alarm there, that monitor is telling me that I'm not at the 5 centimeters of water pressure that we wanted because I turned it off. So it's a neat little safety alarm with to let you know when you are not compliant. Okay, so we plugged back in, set my flow back to 8 liters of flow. Go ahead and tighten this up to get a seal. And there we go, we're back in business. 5 centimeters of water pressure, 5 centimeters of water pressure, 5 centimeters of water pressure. So let's simulate what would happen that if this expiratory limb started to fill with water because the bubbler is up so high. Does that have an impact on the baby? Well, now we're really going to see why this monitor is so useful to you. Is I brought a tea kettle with me, and I'm going to take some water and use my tea kettle, and I'm going to pour the water into the expiratory limb, basically filling up the U-bend here. So I've filled up this U-bend here with water. So I've taken water, I placed it in here so that the expiratory limb can be filled with water. And when I plug that back in, notice what happens is the CPAP on the baby has jumped to 8 to 10 centimeters of water pressure. The CPAP on my monitor says 8 centimeters of water pressure, and it's also alarming to let you know that what's going on inside the baby is now at a dangerous level, or it's at a level that you didn't want set. And all I've done was add water to the expiratory limb so that it fills up in this U-bend. So if I drain this water, have it go back into the system, plug that back in, I come back down to 5 centimeters of water pressure, and my monitor is happy and stopped alarming. I show you this because this really does two things for you. One, it's nice to have a monitor like this with an alarm to tell you that there's a problem. And two, it's important to keep your bubblers down low so that the water can drain back into them. Hope that was helpful. Leave comments, questions in the comment box. Thank you.